So, one big thing that I've realized is that emotional maturity is a skill that you have to build if you were raised in a family that does not have that. Now, there are families that have emotional maturity, but if you have a mental illness of any kind, odds are you come from an emotionally immature family. And that's just emotional immaturity is a lack of being able to communicate effectively. And it's also taking on the programming of this place. I would say that's very much like emotional maturity, like people who can't think outside of the parameters of the reality that's been given to them. Or refuse to because of safety. Again, I talk a lot about how a lot of us do this to feel safe because we have to feel like we belong. And we all want to feel loved. So we conform to whatever is around us to feel that. And that is something that is neurological to us, which is why the Matrix has manipulated it the way it has, because it understands this. The Matrix is functioning as it is meant to. It understands so many things. It's so intricate as far as like how far and how deep this goes in the understanding of how we function as humans and how they've manipulated society completely against that, to the direct opposite of it. So the only conclusion is that they have had the knowledge of this, because how are they able to then perfectly program us in the direct opposite way to mentally enslave all of us, especially here in America? I exclusively talk for that, but this is happening in all countries. All of our brains are hijacked by manipulation to disconnect us from God. So, that's like a big pill to swallow. The good news is that God is, again, going to solve it. And he's going to bring interdimensional beings who have advanced technology and advanced awareness of this. And they know exactly what to do to help us. So that's the good news, okay? The bad news is that we have to be around basically a bunch of people who are like zombies. They're just like caught in the trap, in the web of the Matrix. And what I've been told is that has a lot to do with soul age. There are a lot of young souls down here. A lot. We have 8 billion souls on this planet. And you can see us old souls, I get like 300 views. And I'm like, well, that is a sliver of the population. It's not even a sliver. It's a hair of the population. So, but there is all sorts of starseeds around the world right now. Again, this is like, I also want to encourage people with this because, it's like, how are we going to do this? Like, how are interdimensional beings going to come down and coexist with us? They told me that Earth can sustain like way more life than we obviously can fathom right now. So like there's literally nothing to worry about as far as like how this is all going to happen and how this is all going to work. We have to go to the future, and the future already exists. Like, them existing proves that, the future is already existing. So they already have solved this, but we just have to go through it now. So like, that's the good news too. There's lots of good news, but there's also like a little bit of bad news as well. Actually, a lot of bad news. But if you're awake to the truth, at least you know what's going on. So that is really great. That's really great. You guys are doing so good for your nervous systems and your brains. And you're going to be helping so many people someday. And again, that's like so hard to fathom, but it's like, if you do just look at like the numbers of this, that's also like proof as to why we know we need external help to come help us, because of the sheer scale of everything. The sheer scale of like how far and how deep this has gone and how long it's been able to go on for. And just all the moving pieces at play. Like, this is just like this is God. That's all I can say. Is the Matrix is horrifying, but it is also beautiful. I mean, how did God do this? And it's like, again, I am now deeply understanding why God had me fail anatomy 4 times. because I was like so frustrated. I was stupid as shit. But this is what I'm saying. I'm only smart in this very niche area, which let me say, I'm so stoked to be smart. It's about the universe and all the world and how this is created and what's going on. But I couldn't fucking get anatomy in my brain to save my life. And God made me sit in those classes over and over and over because he wanted me to understand, like, the sheer complexity of what God can create just in a human body. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, he's like, this ain't no thing but a chicken wing for me, but you guys like are like, whoa, look at God's creation. It is so horrifying, but it is also so magnificent. Like, it's so intricate how God was able to design people the way he was, and like, like, he has people who are asleep, and then he has people who are awake, and then he has people who believe all these like lies, and then we also believed all these lies, but now we see how obvious it is that it was all lies. But like, that's also like a first time in history where a bunch of people are like, yo, you fuckers have been lying to us, homie. Like, that's the first time ever that everybody's like, oh, no, we've been tricked. Like, super bigly. And so, and like, you see like how there's only been pockets and pieces of people who have been awake to what's going on. And now it's like everybody in some way, shape, or form. And it, again, this is across all, like, the whole world, obviously, with like Gaza, Ukraine, Afghanistan, all that kind of stuff going on. And then we have over here in America, like, ICE and the Christian nationality and like Trump and like fascism and like, all this crazy shit, right? And like, we've been slowly waking up to this all of our lives, which is why millennials had like a harder life. Like, I was just thinking about that the other day. Okay, hear me out, guys, all right? Because I talked to my grandpa, and he was like, in college, like, they were just so innocent the way that they like viewed things. Like, they like did like panty raids, and like they like married people right away, and like there was just like, now again, it wasn't like perfect or right to do that because there's still societal pressure and programming, but like there was like an innocence to the way they thought. And then I'm over here like, if I tried to explain to my 13-year-old grandpa, if like, so like, let's say I travel back in time and I talked to him about what I was doing at 13 years old, and I was like, I watched Human Centipede. I was on Omegle. Like, my grandpa at 13 years old, my grandpa at 87 is gonna have a fucking heart attack when he hears like some of our lives. Like, I've already kind of explained it to him, because like my college was like so crazy. Like, we were like on Project X. So that's what I'm saying, guys. Like, if you're a millennial or like kind of like a cusper or even awake and stuff, like, we had like we're on a different level of the video game simulation than like our parents were and like our grandparents were, as far as like what their neural pathways have been exposed to, as far as like trauma and stuff too. And like, Trauma Awakens, like, that is in the Epstein files. I will say that's like there are some things that Jeffrey Epstein got right. So again, it's like, he had awareness of this, and we have awareness that he had awareness of this. So like, he had awareness of Ascension, like what was going on for sure, skis. Because like, you can just see all the trauma, and he was obviously causing it. Like some Machiavellian psychopath who was doing like fucking experiments to see if he could like, because he said that like trauma creates psychic abilities. It also awakens people. So it's like, these deletes obviously had awareness of what was going on, and it's just like, God created them that way, and you're like, okay, this is God, this is all God, so God's got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way we could get out of this alone. So like, the only solution is God. And now these 7-dimensional beings, what God also created, are also humans. They're going to look just like us. We're not going to do the grays, and we're not going to have stuff. God knows what he's doing. The humans, and this place does not. God clearly does. God clearly knows what he's doing here. So again, I am beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have the truth and I know what's going on, because this makes very logical, coherent sense to me. And this is clearly what's going on. So at least we know we're good. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's just the waiting and like developing all these skills to be able to help people. That's the hard part that we're like in training and is going to pay off and all that stuff. So just keep going, guys. That's what I have really good days, and I'm glad today's a good day. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Everything's all well in the world.